I have some questions because you were the only one that got to do the interview with Sammy. But like, how did that whole thing happen? How did you come to get an interview with Sammy?
You know, I've got my ways. I've answered this question so many times.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I'm just burned out on answering that. I get that question all the time. All the time.
Honest,
yeah, I'm kind of burned out on answering it. It's like, oh god, I gotta answer that again.
Well, I didn't realize it was a complicated answer.
I just get tired of it because I get it all the time. It's like the most common question. How did you get that interview? And I just did. I didn't know if you knew her or she reached out to you. Like, no. I've had people at the party, not Sammy, but I've had people from the party reach out to me. Well, so but and the other thing I wanted to know, just specifically about that interview before we talk about Kylie, was I didn't watch it live. I went and watched the replay after it had happened. Was there anything cut out of it, or was that like the full interview from start to finish with her? If you remember. No, there was nothing cut out of it. No, what you see on the channel, that was the whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah, because
the only thing that I didn't include was a phone conversation I had with her.
Okay, because I did the transcript for it, and I've watched it 100 times, and so some of the things were just a little weird. Like she seemed like confused about some of the questions. Not so much like she wasn't expecting you to ask her questions, but maybe that like I might have missed a spot. You know what I mean? Like when she's talking about the tank top being found, or when you asked her about the tank top being found. Which, if you're interested, I don't know if you've been keeping up on everything.
Yeah, from what I've been told, from what I understand, when we had her on the show, she said that tank top wasn't Kylie's, the one that was found at the campground.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because I don't know if you re-listened to your interviews, but
yeah. I might have to go back and rewatch it. It's been a while.
It's really interesting. When you asked her about it, she said that they were looking into it. It was being investigated. Right. But then, like, further on in her answer, she said, I can confirm that is not Kylie's and no piece of her clothing has been found anywhere. And what ended up happening now, like a month later, was the person who actually took that picture, like who found the actual black shirt, had reached out to someone that I work with on Twitter. And, it like all checked out. He pulled the metadata from her photo that she sent, and we could see like the exact location she was in when she took it, the date, time, things like that. And what's interesting about that is she said that she waited around for like 30 minutes. Law enforcement was right down the road practically, because it was on the dam road right on the opposite side of the lake or the river or whatever it is, the lake. And she was like, and they didn't come collect it. Like, she ended up leaving after she took the picture, and she ended up just leaving because she was like walking her dog, and she was like, I couldn't stand there all day long for someone to come collect it. So I don't even know if that was like a thing, but come to find out weeks later when she's found, it's just a little concerning because I just wonder, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And I don't think there's any argument that law enforcement really dropped the ball. Yeah. I mean, from the very beginning, a lot of things didn't make sense. Why have so many people at the campground? Why was it like, God, then when they find the car out there, it's like, how do you explain that? How do you explain a car?
It was literally so many, like, it's almost like it can't be that they're incompetent. They have to know what they're doing and purposely do the opposite for it to play out the way that it has,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm not going to say that it's a conspiracy or that they're trying to cover something up. I'm also not saying that it's not a possibility, because like my uncle retired he was a police officer in Philadelphia for 25 years. And is the first one to tell you that there are good people and bad people everywhere.
Sure,
so to be naive to say it's not a possibility would be stupid. But it's just, it deserves a conversation, and it deserves an explanation as to where 19,000 man hours taxpayer money. And if I were parents, like, I would expect an explanation. Like, wouldn't you? Like, I would expect you to explain to me how it is that she was missed.
Yeah, I understand that the water might have been like 4 feet deeper at that time.
Yeah.
But still, yeah, I feel like, when you got a guy that goes out there in a canoe and he finds it in 20 minutes, that's like, yeah.
We're not talking about, it wasn't like 100 feet of black water. She was in water where there was still a bunch of visibility.
Yeah.
So it's kind of crazy to me. But like, what are having spoken to Sammy even like off air? Like, what are your
what are my thoughts?
Yeah, like, what do you think kind of happened?
I think she's 100% completely innocent.
No. I mean, just in general, what happened?
I think this was an accident. I think she's probably beating herself up for making the mistake of allowing her friend to leave. I think she probably has a lot of regret, and I think she's probably beating herself up and I don't think people attacking her is making it any better. Not saying that you are. I'm just saying that, she's got a lot of people attacking her, saying that she's, guilty. I don't think she is. I think she's innocent.
Here's the fact about it is she wasn't the only person there. And like I said, I have not personally spoken to her, but I've personally spoken to others and written up this timeline, which still needs editing, because they have lied. So the question is, Sammy's not the only one that's like giving off weird vibes. There's people who have flat out lied, people who have moved the timeline, 30 minutes one way, an hour and 30 minutes the other way. And it's just all, it is what it is. The timeline happened how it happened.
Well, tell me what you think about it. What do you think?
I think that, so my gut instinct is that some type of accident happened like at the party. While I will say that it's possible that there was some kind of devious, like satanic, like, lure her out here and do whatever kind of thing. Like, sure, that's possible. But like my gut instinct kind of says that like there was some type of accident that happened there and maybe people panicked. I don't think that a lot of people know, but I think that maybe a group of 5 people know and they panicked and didn't know what to do. But, that's not saying that it's okay, right? I mean, I
agree with you on the accident part, but I think the accident was from Kylie, in my opinion.
I
don't think anybody else was involved. I don't think anybody.
You think she wrecked? Like, you think she
okay. Well, I don't know if you saw Psychobabel's show. I was on his show earlier.
I haven't seen it earlier now.
Oh, okay. I was on with Psychobabel, and a nice guy, by the way. Check out his channel. He's a nice guy. I was on his show, and him and I both pretty much agreed that and he's an auto mechanic, and we both agreed that she probably was I don't know, maybe she got in behind the wheel, tried to, I don't know, maybe park somewhere off to the side, maybe fell asleep, accidentally hits the gear shifter, has the key on, and the car starts to roll because it was like on a 45-degree angle. So it was on a steep angle. So, I mean, if you put that car in neutral, it's going to roll on its own. And without the car running, that would have been very hard to like pump the brakes and stop the car. And maybe she panicked. Maybe she, and maybe it just rolled in and it would have went down so quick, like 20, 30. Oh,
sure.
Yeah, 20 to 30 seconds, that car would have been in the water.
And, fully submerged. I think people are kind of missing that. Like, there was no, with one window down on either side of the vehicle, there was no like Titanic, like, ass end of the vehicle sticking straight up in the air. She's climbing up the seats to try to get to the air. I mean, it would have fully submerged within seconds. But
exactly.
And if it was an accident, if she panicked and forgot that a window was like whatever, like whatever happened, that's fine as long as it makes sense. My whole thing with it being her kind of drunk and accidentally went, whatever, is number one, I don't know that she was drunk. Or on
we'll find out though. But I'm curious. Yeah, you're right about that. We don't know. I agree.
So there's that, and then also on top of that is let's say if she was as inebriated as we've been led to believe by a few people, parents of people and things like that. I'm having a difficult time wrapping my head around the fact that she didn't wreck at some point prior to the clear path down to the water. So no trees, no bushes, no down a hillside, no drove the wrong way and hit a tree kind of thing. Like, I mean, she was sober enough to be on the road and stay completely on the road. If that's the path she took, she may not have. To stay on that dirt path, but yet too drunk to, let's say, slam on the brakes or jump out the window. Or, I mean, that you got to admit, like, that passenger window being completely down, and she's a tall, very slim girl.
Yeah.
I would hate to think that she had those outs, like she had a way out of the car. She had what they tell us to do, right? They say as soon as you hit the water, if not while you're like midair and you're about to hit the water, start rolling the windows down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? She had them down. She had in 2 rows. She had them down. So that concerns me. Unless, like you say, she was passed out. That's
and you got to keep in mind that it was dark out. This is probably pitch black, probably dark. The car's in the water, going down quickly, and by time, I mean, even me as a grown ass man, I don't know if I could handle that situation. Car flipping upside down. I mean, that's pretty intense and dark, cold water. I couldn't imagine.
Yeah, I mean, like you said,
that'd be
20, 30
seconds.
Anyway. Yeah, 20,
that's quick.
Seconds is
not much time at all.
It's
I mean, you gotta get out as soon as that car's in. You gotta get out like right away. I don't know. Hell, I'd probably be screwed. I don't know. Get my ass out of the car.
I would hate for and I don't want to like cause any additional, but of all the ways, like I would not wish that type of death on anybody. And so it's just, I guess then where I hit a wall with believing that maybe that is right is that why are people lying? And to clarify, they're not giving broad, I don't really remember, it was this 30-minute time frame kind of details. They're giving me very specific, word for word, like to the minute kind of events in the timeline.
Right.
Which is difficult to do sober, right? I mean, when you have your wits about you. And then the other thing is like Kate and Jagger.
Yeah.
Like, why weren't they there? Jagger's friends with all of these people.
Yeah, I think we have to consider this generation of kids that walk around with their face in their hands, and they're not paying attention to things that are going on around them.
I agree with that.
Yeah, they're very oblivious to what's going on around them. I mean, I think like they're probably, while she's in the water, they're probably looking into their phone. I mean, not even aware of it.
But then where's all of the phone? So I know that
I don't know.
I know that the immediate comeback is like, well, just because you don't see them doesn't mean that they don't exist and things like that. But
I think we
pictures and videos.
Yeah, I think we have to keep in mind that you're dealing with underage kids and possible drug use. I don't know. I mean, possibly protecting victims are suspects or evidence, whatever you want to call it.
Sure. I mean,
a lot of things that they have, they're not going to release. They're not going to let us, I guess you call us web sleuths or YouTubers or whatever you call us. Yeah, I don't know. I think that there's probably reasons they don't. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I've been sent different pictures and videos that I've not, put out on my Twitter and things like that, but just them kind of trying to give me a better idea of things and make things in the timeline fit, which ended up being to a disadvantage because, if you tell me that at this time, there's no longer any of those blue lights that you see, and then 30 minutes later, something else happens, but then there's a video of it and I've seen it and I see the blue lights, I'm going to, I come back and I say, but I thought, so your timeline is incorrect. But anyway, I mean, at the end of the day, whether she had an accident or somebody did purposely and maliciously hurt her, or there was an accident and people got scared, whatever it is that actually happened, Kylie deserves for that to be told in her story, if that makes sense. For her soul, what did it used to be called? I'm thinking of like Casper, like the old Casper, when they would like talk about crossing over, they had to
like purgatory.
Yeah, like where you're just kind of like you have like no
purgatory
peace. You're not, and I know we hear from mom.
I get what you're saying. That's very compassionate of you to think that way. I think that we need to be compassionate also of the people that are friends that are dealing with the loss of a friend. I mean, I think we have to be very cautious of accusing people of crimes that they may or may not have committed. I think we have to be careful how we handle that as well. But no, I certainly agree with what you're saying. I respect that.
And that's true, but I do think that for some people, and I think maybe past trauma, and I'm speaking from experience. I think past trauma.
My concern is like for Sammy, like imagine her being accused of something that she didn't, wasn't involved in.
I mean, I will tell you, and probably you can see her different social medias and stuff like.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean she committed a crime.
No, but I'm saying on outward appearances, she's either dealing with it in an unhealthy way, right? In a way that's not going to promote processing it and accepting it, because that would be like survivor's guilt is a real thing. I have been in recovery for like 10 years. And so, but back when I was into different things, that was something I needed to process with survivor's guilt and my actions after something happened. So like in terms of being healthy, there's that, and she is young. Wouldn't want, regardless if anybody on the internet even said anything, unhealthy processing and coping mechanisms. You don't want another tragedy, right?
Right. Yeah, because I mean, she's only this girl, Sammy, she's got to go the rest of her life now. No, and she clearly admitted on my show that she was the last one to see Kylie. She said that.
But
she's going to go the rest of her life, with resentment.
Because that's not true. I mean, from what I've heard from other people, there's other people that say they saw her after she did.
Well, and they could have been, and maybe just, Sammy just may not have been aware of that. I mean, that's possible. I mean, who knows? I mean,
back when you interviewed her, she was doing the teens and things like that. But back when you interviewed her, it's possible that she wasn't aware, because people's timelines did change. So there for a while, she was the last person to see and speak to her. So in a way, some of this can also be helpful. That might provide some type of, I want to say relief, and then I also don't want to say relief because there is a child that is deceased, but maybe provide some type of relief in the sense that, she was okay for such and such amount of time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I want to be careful about like not condoning anything because, but I'm not their parents, right? So it's, but I'm willing to accept whatever it is. I just think that for Kylie, it should be the truth, whatever it is.
Yeah. And I agree with that. I agree with that. I just want to be careful for, Sammy and the rest of the kids that are going to have to live with this for the rest of their lives, knowing that, hey, we lost somebody that we were friends with, somebody we went to school with, somebody they were friends.
That's why I made the comment I did in the chat, because that's one thing that I think everybody that is discussing this Kylie thing keeps overlooking is how is this making the parents and the family feel having to constantly relive this over and over and over and over and over again every day, hearing a bunch of people that aren't even involved with the family, had nothing to do with the accident, wasn't even there, just giving their theories on things over and over and over and over again every day. I know if it was me and I was a parent, I'd be tired of it because it's not allowing me to actually process and grieve properly for the loss of my child.
Yeah, but they don't have to watch though, too, though.
That's true.
And
I do have a question for him.
I think people have the right to discuss it, but
discuss it, yes, but there's got to come a point when even we as caring individuals have to say, okay, are we now just beating a dead horse?
Well, that's why I think it's important to really understand what the difference between making accusations and asking questions, right? So some questions might be uncomfortable. They might make you anxious. They might seem a particular type of way, but it's not coming straight out and saying you murdered so-and-so and you need to admit it. That is wrong with no evidence. But asking questions, looking for clarity, while I admit that it does go too far, like I said, I think some of it is healthy also. So for instance, you are stuck in this position where you're telling a story the way that you remember it, and it might not be true. So this guilt that you're having for a situation that you think happened one way may have happened another, and that comes out the more that people come out and talk. But again, people don't come out to talk unless they feel comfortable in doing so, and telling everyone that comes forward that they're a murderer, that's going to be an issue. But what I wanted to ask him is while I agree with everything that you said, we've only heard from mom, right? So I'm super curious, like what about dad? What about grandpa? What about aunts and uncles? What about, her brother's so young, and I hate to even think of that, but
it's not uncommon for family members not to want to speak to the public about a loss.
Sure.
Yeah. I'm just saying, I mean, I think that because society as a whole has become so violent and aggressive and outspoken that people take someone's silence, especially a father or a grandfather or someone like that, their silence is maybe sometimes, leading into guilt, when a lot of times it's just, that's how they're processing things, is they just don't want to talk.
Yeah.
Sure. And I totally get that. And I think that's much healthier than some other, again, ways of coping. But having said that,
I was just going to talk about when I covered the Naomi Irion case, and I interviewed Naomi Irion's mother.
Oh,
and
God,
that was before, this was like when she first went missing. I had that interview with Diana Irion.
Yeah, that would break my heart.
Oh my God. I mean, this was before she even knew that she had perished. And
but
that's hard. Those are hard interviews. And I mean, it's like emotionally, even when you interview somebody, like you can feel like you can actually feel the pain in that woman's heart. And that's hard.
Well, what gets me.
Yeah.
I was just going to make one quick statement, and then I'll hand it to you, Sleuthie. What's really wild though is, all these folks that are so emotionally invested in these situations, like Kylie, that get this emotionally invested and want to have all the answers and want to know what happened. Imagine if those same people that were that emotionally invested in something that happened to someone else's kid actually put that much investment in their own fucking kids.
Well, so again, we're not going to be naive and assume that everyone that is emotionally invested into this is not, maybe I don't want to say neglecting, but maybe not focusing as much of their time and love and affection to their own children. Like, it would be naive to say that, whatever. So obviously it happens. However, I'm big on, so we're talking about Naomi. Her sister would come on our Twitter spaces, and the very first Twitter space, I did not look into Naomi's case at all, because I did feel such an emotional reaction to her family, to her sister, having spoken to them like one-on-one, the pain that you talk about. I stepped away because it's difficult to be unbiased when you're coming from a place of emotion. So while I go on and on about Kylie, and I love to talk about her, and I'm questioning all these things, I'm not like, did I cry when like when I watched the AWP episode and her mother was like, towards the end, she was standing there, she's like, please come home. Like, yeah, of course, because I'm a mom and I'm a girl, and so obviously it pulled at my heartstrings. But I think in terms of cases as a whole, for instance, picking a case with a child that's similar in age to my child, a young child, am I going to be able to separate my emotional thinking from my critical thinking to be able to be helpful, or am I just going to be, again, spewing, accusations at people and blaming everyone? Or am I really going to be asking questions and not being fully invested in whatever the answer is, being one way or the other?
Yeah. Trying to be non-biased.
You can't with emotional thinking, like, ever. I mean, that's just simple. You can't think emotionally with stuff like this.
Yeah. I would agree. I'd agree with that. I'll bring Sleuthie back in. You still wanting to talk, or are you done?
Well, that was rude, but I just want to blurt out my tiny.
So what was rude?
I got booted. I definitely did get booted.
Well, I didn't want you to really be caught up in the middle of that nightmare. So
no, I'm not like, it's whatever. But I did just want to come back and say, as advice, like with the people that kind of are, let's just say, looking into cases and not even looking into you.
Yeah. My
advice would be, when he said about him knowing all about you, and you said you don't know anything about me, I will say that just in this live that I've been listening to, you have mentioned a couple things that would assist someone in figuring out who you are and looking into you. So just be a little careful.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for being here. Appreciate it. All right.